What is up, True Crime World? You're here with Lumina on the Wall. I'm Becky.
And I'm Bevy. And today we have a question for everyone. How would you guys feel if one of your loved ones was murdered? Obviously terrible, but then you came to find out after they had been murdered that their death could have been prevented. And we're going to take it one step further and ask you guys how you would feel if the people who could have prevented her death were the police. Because that's what happens in this case.
Ooh.
So before we get into all of that, we're going to have our lovely sister chat, and then we're going to give you the 411 on this week's serial killer. So Becky, you got any new things to tell me about your week? I just saw you yesterday for the Super Bowl, so that was fun.
Oh, yes, that was fun. Yeah, it was a good night. My week? You know what?
What?
I probably already told you because how could I not?
What?
But I had pinball last week.
Oh, yeah, you rocked it. You literally sent me pictures, Becky.
I crushed it.
Yeah, Becky did so well. She sent me photos of how much she crushed her opponents.
Yeah, I did.
What?
I know. I was on fucking fire. This never happens. Okay. In just the normal league, it was actually I had some super highs and then some super lows in this. So in the normal tournament, I came in first place.
That's
First
nuts.
fucking
Is that
place.
the first time ever that you came in first in a tournament?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
However, that tournament, coming in first, I got to go to playoffs, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
But my playing was not in playoffs. When it really mattered, I fucking flopped. So it was really sad.
That's devastating.
But I can assure you, it does not take away from my first place victory.
No, it does not. That is
gotta-
something to be proud of.
Yeah, you got to take the wins when you get them.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that's it's pretty much all I got.
Well, we do actually have some news for all of our listeners, because I'm sure you guys are invested in the sale of my mom's house, because it's been forever. Her house sold, and she is moving to Kelowna in a week.
In a week.
So there's that. It finally sold, and everything happened pretty quick from there, so.
Okay, I'm kind of laughing listening to you say this, Bev, because it's a super exciting time, and as you're saying it, you're yeah, her house sold. It's super exciting. She's moving to Kelowna.
Well, on paper, it's super exciting. For her, it's super exciting.
But we're sad pandas.
Yeah, we're a little sad.
Our mommy.
Yeah, she's leaving us. She doesn't love us.
Whoa.
Just kidding.
We like to rub it in her face,
Yeah.
but we're happy for her. Right, Bev?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, a little bit. Yeah, kind of. Okay, also, here's another thing is...
Jeez Louise.
No, I am happy for her, but don't pretend you weren't bawling your fucking face off the other day, Becky, because you were sad she was leaving. We're both sad about it. We're both kind of bitter about the fact that she's leaving us. So
Oh, for sure. Okay, before you say whatever you were going to say,
Yeah.
I get mom to play me the piano all the time. Because we grew up and she would always play for us, you know, a handful of songs.
It's good
We're
memories.
"Love this." And so I always get her to, well, not always, but sometimes I get her to play it. And the other day she did it and wasn't no, Becky, I don't want to right now.
My fingers
Just
hurt.
And she was like, "Ugh." I think she knew I needed it. And she started playing Sound of Silence. And, I'm keeping it together because, I like that song and I'm trying to, sing along to it. And then I can feel my throat just, starting to fucking close because I'm oh, God, I'm going to cry. And then Mom looks over and I'm and she's like, "Oh, honey, are you crying?" I was like, "Ah, I am." I couldn't even not cry if I wanted to. There was no holding it back. That the piano just got me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Leave it to music to invoke ridiculous emotions out of me all the time, anytime.
Or, when you're rearranging your room.
That happened too.
Becky, it's not just music. It's the fact that our mother is leaving us because she doesn't love us. Okay?
All right. We're just sad. We won't see her as much.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Okay, well, the thing I was going to say
Yes.
was that someone who listens to our podcast had like messaged us because a couple weeks back, Becky and I were chatting on the podcast, whatever. And Becky said grasping, or no, she said pulling at strings. And I like made fun of her. I was like, that is not what that saying is. Come to find out, it totally is. That's correct. I was, in fact, totally wrong. But I told Becky it was straws, like pulling at straws. But here's the thing, is that there are two very similar sayings, one with straws and one with strings. And for anyone who may have been confused like me, it is pulling at strings and grasping at straws.
There we go, Bevy.
There you go. But I did have to come on here and publicly say that I was called out for calling Becky out incorrectly. And apologies.
Suck it, Donnie.
Suck it. Oh, so funny. All right. Well, shall we get into the case for today and enlighten everyone about the police's negligence, biases, and bullshit, Becky?
Absolutely, we should.
Okay, let's get into it. All right, so Tim Bosma was born on August 12th, 1980 in Ontario. And in 2013, Tim was 32 years old, married to his wife, Sharlene, and the two shared a young child together. Tim worked as a contractor and was, by all accounts, the ultimate family man. And the Bosmas lived in Ancaster, which was just a suburb of Hamilton, Ontario. In May of 2013, the family decided that it was time to sell one of their vehicles, a Dodge Ram diesel. Tim had loved his truck, but it started to become a money pit, so logically it just made sense for the family to sell it. He decided to post an ad online, and at the time a man named Lucas Bate contacted Tim to arrange a viewing of the truck, and they decided that would occur on the evening of May 6th. So after work, Tim headed home to meet this guy, Lucas. And as the evening went on and no one showed up, Tim and Sharlene began to wonder if they had been stood up. But apparently they hadn't, because just after 9 o'clock, they saw two men walking up their driveway. Now, I don't know about you, Becky, but if that occurred to me, I would be scared. Would you not? A little bit?
I don't know if I'd be scared, but if I thought I was being stood up and then someone just showed up anyways or really late, it would I might not feel super comfortable with this scenario.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're expecting one guy and then two show up, I don't know. It's just a little bit off-putting. And at the time, it felt strange to both Tim and Sharlene as well. Something seemed a little off to them. But of course, they are pretty motivated to sell the truck, so they just thought better late than never.
I mean, I think we've all been joshed around by the goddamn marketplace, Facebook marketplace, Sometimes you just gotta deal with people's weirdisms and get shit sold,
True that, Becky. True that. So while the couple was waiting for these guys to arrive, they had discussed whether Tim should go on the test drive with Lucas or stay home because it was pretty late at the time. They ultimately agreed that it was best for Tim to go with the men to ensure that the truck was returned after the test drive. So Tim met the men outside and the three of them left together for the test drive. An hour later, Tim still hadn't returned home. And Sharlene begins to worry and wondered what was taking so long. And so she called Tim's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Now, that was unusual because she knew Tim had charged his phone when he had gotten home, so it really shouldn't have been dead. And of course, that sounded the alarm bells. She knew something was seriously wrong at that point. So Sharlene immediately calls Hamilton police and reported Tim missing. Officers quickly came to the Bosma residence that evening, and it was a pretty long night. And by the next morning, there was still no word from Tim. As the news of his disappearance spread, hundreds of volunteers came out to search for him. They became known as the Bosma Army. But despite the massive effort, there was still no trace of Tim. Now, initially, the only piece of evidence that the detectives had was the name from the ad, Lucas Bate. However, when they searched the name, they couldn't find any information. So essentially, this man did not exist, and the Bosmas were probably given like a fake name. Now, fortunately, just 3 days later, on May 9th, police found Tim's phone, and it was located near Chimera Water Solutions Canada in Brantford, Ontario, which was about 30 minutes away from the Bosma home. And with Tim's phone recovered, detectives obtained his phone records. The number that had called him to set up the test drive was registered to a Lucas Bait, but it was a burner phone. And when detectives looked up where the phone was bought, there wasn't any security footage, and the address on the application was that of a high school called Lakeshore Collegiate. And there was no record of a student by the name Lucas Bait either. So, who were these mystery men that Tim drove off with? And why would someone use a fake name just to test drive a truck?
Yeah, why would someone use a fake name? Not for any good reason, that's for darn sure, Bevy.
Yes, of course. Now, police obviously need to figure out a little bit more about this burner phone, at least try, because that's all they got at this point. And they decide to pull the call records from the burner phone, and they learned that it had been used to arrange 2 other test drives for similar vehicles in the days leading up to Tim's disappearance. Now, the first appointment never happened because, quote-unquote, Lucas was late. And during the second appointment, 2 men arrived for a test drive in Toronto on May 5th. So detectives contacted that seller, who provided descriptions that matched the same 2 men who had met with Tim. The seller also mentioned that one of the men carried a small satchel bag and had a tattoo on his wrist of the word ambition. And this detail was released to the public in hopes of identifying the suspect. The following day, May 10th, police from Peel and Toronto advised Hamilton police about a Toronto man named Dylan Millard, who was known to carry a satchel bag and had an ambition tattoo on his wrist. But Dylan Millard was not known to the Bosma family at all, so who was he? Dylan Millard was born on August 30th, 1985, to Wayne Millard and Madeleine Burns. Madeleine was a flight attendant with Air Canada, and Wayne was a pilot with both Air Canada and Millard Air, his father Carl Millard's aviation company. Dylan's grandfather, Carl Millard, had started his own charter airline, Millard Air, in the 1960s, and it was based out of Pearson Airport in Toronto. In the 1990s, the company ended up going bankrupt and later rebranded as an aircraft maintenance business. Then in 2006, after Carl passed away, Dylan's father, Wayne, took over the company. A short time later, Wayne relocated Millard Air to Waterloo International Airport. So Dylan essentially grew up in the aviation industry. He was surrounded by aircraft and opportunity. His family was very wealthy, and from an early age, it seemed like his future was incredibly promising. In 1999, on Dylan's 14th birthday, he set a world record for being the youngest person to fly both a helicopter and a fixed-wing plane solo on the same day. And it was a pretty impressive achievement, one that suggested he might naturally follow in his family's aviation footsteps.
Also, Bev, I don't know about you, but did you get your learners, like car learners at 14?
No.
I did.
You did, yeah.
And I tried many times, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
This fucking kid is like, oh, I'm just gonna fly a helicopter all by myself. Never mind his learner's permit.
Yeah, no kidding. Like,
the fudge?
Yeah, he's pretty accomplished. Like, he does, like, his future seems promising, right?
Yeah, it really does.
And you know, for all of Dylan's achievements and growing up in a wealthy family, he seemed pretty modest. He didn't appear to brag or show off. But after high school, something seemed to shift within him. He struggled to decide what direction he wanted to take in life, and at different points he enrolled in culinary school, considered becoming a makeup artist, explored animation, and took up photography. He found minor success in photography, even doing a shoot for Suicide Girls, a website that depicts women as pinups. However, Dylan appeared far more drawn to the party scene. So he's kind of all over the place, probably trying to find purpose. You know, sometimes I feel like when you're grown up and your path is kind of not dictated for you, but it's encouraged, and there's a definitive path in which you're kind of wanted to go. I feel like sometimes kids kind of rebel against that. I'm not saying that's necessarily what happened, but sometimes I feel like the pressure to do what maybe your parents did or your grandparents before you might be a little bit too much. And yeah,
That can make it hard to, like, if you didn't want to do that, to venture out of that must be hard. Especially because it's like all mostly what he's known, right?
exactly.
Aviation, flying planes and helicopters. It's like, now what do I want to do? I don't want to do that, but what do I want to do? I don't actually know. But the world is my oyster. Let's figure it out.
Exactly.
Or party hard.
Or party
Who
hard.
knows?
And that is what Dylan did. And at the time of all of this, he was living with his father in Etobicoke, where he hosted extravagant parties that quickly became legendary. Everyone wanted to be at Dylan's parties. And as his popularity grew, so did the scale of the gatherings, and so did Dylan's self-indulgent lifestyle. He drank heavily and used a lot of drugs. And he was really just fully immersed into this type of lifestyle. Now, through all of Dylan's partying ways, he had a good friend named Mark Smitch, who was often by his side. The two had met in 2006, and they quickly grew close. So close that Mark and his girlfriend, Marlena, eventually moved into the basement suite of the Millard family home where Dylan was living. And then, by 2012, Dylan and Mark and some other friends kind of amped up their risque behaviors and regularly arranged what Dylan would call missions. These were late-night excursions to steal items such as bobcat construction equipment, jet skis, motorbikes, and even trees, if you'd believe it.
Do you know how expensive trees are, Bev?
I mean, they are a natural resource that is highly valued, Becky. So,
Yeah, but like, at like Bluegrass, Home Depot.
expensive.
Oh,
Wood. Expensive, is it?
expensive wood. Yeah, like trees that you can go plant, they can get pretty dang pricey. If you want 100 trees on your property,
Uh-huh.
like they can range. You can get some on sale, but like at least like $100+
Whoa.
for a baby tree. So if you want like a mature tree, like maybe Dylan was stealing, could be like a lot of money, Bev. So, he knows the value at least. He knows the value of the trees, the oxygen.
And not just the trees. I mean, he's arranging to steal pretty big ticket items.
Yes. Not just like lug nuts or money from a car cup holder.
Yeah, no, like a jet ski. Like, what the fuck? That's wild.
I'd be pissed if I had a jet ski and I walked outside and I was like, where did my jet ski go? I'd be so mad.
Yeah, think of the construction equipment, too.
Them bobcats.
Like, that's wild. I mean,
I know.
geez. So one of his friends later described these missions as being strictly for the thrill of it. Because as we know, the Millard family was wealthy and had more than enough money to have purchased any of these items outright. So Dylan was just being like a brat.
Yeah, he's like, watch what I can steal. You know what, Bev? I stole something once, and I would hope you'd remember it because you ratted me out to Mom and Dad or Grandma.
Was it like a pack of gum or something?
No, I did also steal that when I was little, but Dad made me go and apologize and return it, which was mortifying. So I don't know why I stole this next thing.
What was it? I don't remember.
No, we were at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and Grandma had all these cute little like porcelain bunnies.
Uh-huh.
And I thought they were just the cutest thing. And obviously, my little young mind, I could not handle the cuteness overload. And I took one thinking no one would notice. And I remember I showed you in the backseat of the car and be like, look what I did. And you literally were like, Mom, Becky stole this bunny. Like, you didn't even wait till we were out of the car in private. You were just ratting me out, like, in front of my own face.
Well, I mean, don't steal shit, naughty bitch.
I was like 7.
That means I was like 5 or like 6.
Yeah.
Like I was so young.
I was in so much trouble.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that at all, Becky.
I think that was
Love
like
that.
the first moment I was like, I hate her.
And there it started, right?
Yeah, because up until that point, I only had love for you. I think it screwed me over.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, let that be everyone's lesson. Don't steal.
No, don't
It's
trust
just-
your younger sister.
No, don't steal. Oh, God. I've stolen
Yeah.
some stuff too, but not
Mm,
recent. That is for damn
no,
sure. I think a lot of people have their moment, you know?
for sure. Yes, I do.
But Dylan's taken it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And because his family was like super rich, he could actually store these huge items and he would store the stolen property at the Millard Air Hangar. But employees kind of began to realize that the hangar had essentially become a glorified playground for Dylan, his criminal activities, and all his low-life criminal friends. Very little actual mechanical aviation work seemed to be happening inside what was supposed to be a multi-million-dollar facility. So, the tension between Dylan and his father ultimately stemmed from Dylan's refusal to take responsibility for the business. And not only was he not taking responsibility for the business, Dylan was also spending excessively. So Wayne was reportedly planning to cut him off financially because he did not want to see the company that he and his father had worked so hard to build crumble to the ground because of Dylan. And then, tragically, on November 29th of 2012, Wayne Millard was found dead from a gunshot wound to his face. Now, Toronto police quickly ruled this death a suicide, and Wayne's body was cremated shortly afterward, and there was no further investigation that was done. So, after learning all of this information about Dylan Millard, investigators really became suspicious of him, and they decided to obtain his phone records. And when they did, they were able to trace Dylan's movements from Etobicoke to Ancaster and discovered that his cell phone was pinging off the same cell towers at the exact same times as the Lucas Bate phone did on May 6th. That's when investigators realized that Dylan Millard was most likely Lucas Bate. And after speaking with the witnesses from the previous test drives and collecting their descriptions of the men involved, police were able to confidently determine that it was Dylan Millard and his friend Mark Smitch who had met with Tim Bosma that night. And as part of their investigation, detectives also uncovered a significant amount of surveillance footage from the night of May 6th, which allowed them to piece together the events. So after Tim and the two men left the Bosma residence, Tim's truck was seen being followed by a dark-colored SUV. The two vehicles then traveled to none other than the Millard Air Hangar. Surveillance footage showed Tim's truck now hauling a long flatbed trailer with a large piece of equipment on it. Dylan and Mark were captured on video entering the hangar on foot. Shortly afterward, flames were seen erupting from the equipment on the trailer attached to Tim's truck, and the fire burned throughout the night. Based on the totality of the surveillance footage, detectives believe that Tim was no longer alive and that Dylan and Mark had killed him and then burned his body. And because of these findings, Dylan Millard and Mark Smitch were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. What's pretty shocking is that when Dylan was arrested, police found Tim Bosma's truck keys in his pocket.
Who does that, though?
Yeah, especially knowing what you did, right?
Yeah, like, why would you keep, I would say, a big piece of evidence on your person?
Yeah.
Like, maybe Dylan literally just thought he's untouchable.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, he was pretty brazen in this whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So he was also charged with forcible confinement and theft over $5,000. So with all the evidence that the police have, they believe that they have their suspects in custody, but they really did still need more concrete evidence, especially the truck. They needed to locate it. So they obtained obtained search warrants and began looking for it. Eventually, they struck gold at Dylan's mother's house. Parked inside a trailer, they found Tim Bosma's truck. And so, of course, it was removed from the residence and taken in for forensic testing. Inside the truck, investigators found a shell casing, gunshot residue, and Dylan Millard's fingerprints. They also used luminol to test for blood, and the results revealed a heavy presence of blood in the bed of the truck, as well as in other areas inside and outside the vehicle. So it was clear that there had been an attempt to clean the truck and the flatbed. Now, further testing unfortunately confirmed that the blood found in the truck belonged to Tim Bosma. But one major question remained for the detectives, like where was the flatbed trailer and the equipment seen in the surveillance footage? I mean, it wasn't something that would be easy to hide, so where was it? So detectives began their search looking at various properties owned by Dylan and his father, including a more rural property with expansive land and open space. And while searching the area, investigators noticed a man riding an ATV near the Millard property. They called him over and asked whether he had seen anything unusual during his ride. And this man, whose name was Chaz, told them that he actually had. He said he had come across a trailer that seemed completely out of place. Chaz led detectives to a clearing on the Millard property, and to everyone's surprise, sitting there was a flatbed trailer, and on it was what appeared to be an industrial incinerator. When it was examined, they found small pieces of human remains that, when tested, proved to be Tim Bosma.
An incinerator, Bevy.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Like a funeral home.
That's so messed up.
Cremation. Like, what?
Honestly, probably something he stole at one point or another. Because, like, who the fuck has that?
Yeah, could you imagine you just going up to your friend and be like, hey man, can I borrow your incinerator? Just like, need to incinerate some non-suspicious things.
So I guess, like, the police are pretty lucky that they found human remains or traces of it, right?
Yeah, because as we know, like, burning bodies is, in all honesty, is a really good way to get rid of evidence, get rid of humans.
Yeah, I mean, if you do it very thoroughly.
Yeah.
Because typically there's still some stuff you can find, but, like, an incinerator should probably be one of the best methods to burn a human body. And so yeah, I just think they're lucky because obviously they're looking for concrete evidence to probably convict these two guys of a serious crime, and finding the body is, like, well, I mean, it gives you such better chances.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this is a really sad find because it does confirm that Tim Bosma tragically died.
Yeah.
After what should have been just like a routine selling of his truck. Like, fuck.
Like, so many people do that. Like, who thinks they're gonna die?
Yeah. So, obviously, with this news, someone has to do the very sad task of relaying the information to Sharlene. And just 1 week after Tim had gone missing, a detective arrived at the Bosma residence to tell her that, Tim would not be coming home. He had been murdered and his body had been burned beyond recognition. Which is honestly, like, that is just really sad to me because, like, she watched him walk away and she never gets to even see his body ever again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that must just be so tough.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine, to be honest.
No. I mean, I guess people just losing a loved one is treacherous at the best of times, but I do think that there is some bit of closure to be able to say goodbye and have a physical body there. And to not have that, I just think would be torture.
I agree.
So with all of the information that the detectives now have, they make preparations to move forward with the trial. Meanwhile, Dylan and Mark remain in custody at the Hamilton jail. And in June of 2016, the trial for Tim Bosma's murder began. It ended up lasting 4 months. The Crown presented extensive DNA evidence, detailed cell phone records, surveillance footage, and testimony from multiple witnesses. And at the conclusion of the trial, both Dylan Millard and Mark Smich were found guilty of first-degree murder. They were each sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for at least 25 years. But what is crazy about this case, and what we will get into, will kind of help answer or give more insight into the question that we posed at the beginning of the podcast. Because ultimately, Tim Bosma's murder opened the door to renewed scrutiny in 2 other cases that had not been solved. And that being the death of Wayne Millard, Dylan's dad, and the disappearance of a Toronto woman named Laura Babcock. So let's talk about Laura first. So everyone who knew her described her as a ball of energy. She was full of life, magnetic, and those qualities naturally drew people in. She had a wide circle of friends and was constantly on her phone, always checking in with her people. Connection meant everything to her. She grew up in a middle-class family in Toronto and had a pretty happy childhood. She later studied art and drama at university and really leaned into her creative side. And in 2008, while out one night at the Brunswick House pub, Laura met Dylan Millard. And the two seemed to hit it off immediately and began seeing each other fairly regularly. However, it was more of a fling than a serious relationship, lasting only about a month. After that, they remained friends and occasionally had sex. Unfortunately, people close to Laura could tell she had feelings for Dylan, hence why she kept him in her life. He had a certain allure. He was the cool guy who threw extravagant parties at his place, complete with a pool, and he financed all the fun and facilitated it. So being around him meant being part of that exciting world. So it was hard to let go of. That being said, after things cooled down with Dylan, Laura ended up meeting a man named Sean Lerner. Sean was a good guy who genuinely loved Laura, and they dated for a while, but eventually broke up, but still they remained very close friends. So in 2011, Sean even threw Laura a birthday party for her 22nd birthday, and Dylan was invited, along with his soon-to-be girlfriend, Christina Nudga. Now, the following year, on Laura's birthday in February 2012, Laura received a text from Christina, who, if you remember, I just mentioned was Dylan's soon-to-be girlfriend the previous year, and it read, "Happy birthday. A year ago today was the first time I slept with a Dylan."
Oh, it sounds like a bitch move right there, Bev.
Like, right? Like, what kind of text is that? So Laura replied super cheeky and said, "That's fine. I slept with him a couple of weeks ago."
Oh boy.
And then Christina decided to say, "Did you miss your medication today? You're a crazy psycho bitch just trying to get my boyfriend. You had him and you lost him. Give it up." And the feud didn't stop there. Tension continued not only between Laura and Christina, but also between Laura and Dylan himself. It's like some fucking weird-ass triangle of, like, sex. I don't know. Pretty fucked up, though.
You know what? Shame on Christina for starting that, though.
Yeah, why'd she say that? Like, but maybe she, like, yeah, like, I don't know. That's so weird. I feel like if you have to message, like, a girl in your boyfriend's past saying something like that to, like, kind of prove the point or, like, lay down the law or do something like that, I don't know, to, like,
Rub it in.
you know, puff up your chest, like, you might be with the wrong guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You know what, Bev? As I was doing the research for this case, I did read that Dylan was a little bit of a playboy. He messed around with several women, not just Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that considering Christina does seem a little insecure about the relationship.
Yes.
But what a douche. He's a douche for doing that, though. Messing with girls' hearts. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. And then, like, letting them get into this fight.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
So Laura's found herself in the middle of their relationship, and she's having trouble with both of them. And to top it off, that whole year, Laura had been dealing with quite a bit. I mean, her mental health wasn't in the best place, and from August of 2011 through April of 2012, Laura had been struggling significantly with her mental health. She had been in and out of the hospital more than 12 times, addressing anxiety and depression. And at times in that period, she experienced homelessness. She also took jobs in Toronto as a paid escort. Ultimately, Laura just wanted stability, like a permanent job that would allow her to use her degree and a place of her own to call home. But unfortunately, that's not where she was at during this time. And in mid-April of 2012, during the period where Laura's struggling the most, Dylan sent Laura a text that read, "You are harmful to me. Please don't try to contact me until you've made some huge leaps of self-discovery. As I said before, good luck with life." The following day, Dylan sent a text to Christina that read, "First, I'm going to hurt her. Then I'll make her leave. I will remove her from our lives." Which is a pretty ominous text to send.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you going to hurt her? And, like, do you mean emotionally or physically?
Right?
And when you say remove her from our lives, like, do you mean stop talking to her? Or do you mean something sinister? Like, what the fuck is
like
that?
murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we don't really know what Dylan's intent was with the text that he had sent to Christina, but he was very clear to Laura at the very least that he did not want to continue speaking with her. And after the last text exchange with her, it did look like Dylan and Laura had stopped communication, which ultimately was probably a good thing because Laura was still struggling with her mental health. And throughout the spring and beginning of summer, she was relying on friends for places to stay. But her ex, Sean, stepped in around mid-June and he found her a pet-friendly hotel where she could stay with her dog and even bought her an iPad to use. Sean was like always looking out for her because he generally cared for her as a person. And around the same time, despite the ongoing feud, Laura and Dylan had reconnected. I'm not sure who initiated this, but they had exchanged over 110 phone calls and text messages and had made plans to meet up. So on Tuesday afternoon, July 3rd of 2012, Laura ended up meeting Dylan at Kipling subway station in Toronto. Security cameras did capture Laura and Dylan on camera, but that was the last time Laura had ever been seen alive. After that, she went missing. And a few days later, after she had gone missing, Sean realized that he couldn't get a hold of her at all, and he became deeply concerned for her well-being. He attempted to report her missing to the Toronto Police Service, and we say attempted because police deemed Laura high risk and believed she would eventually resurface on her own. Their reasoning was based on what they described as her high-risk lifestyle. Of course, we know she had been working as an escort, and she did have documented mental health struggles. And so because of those factors, authorities did not initially want to treat her case as a formal missing person investigation.
Which in itself, Bev, just irritates the shit out of me. Like, back in, the 70s and 80s, there was prostitutes always going missing, and people just, didn't care because they were prostitutes.
Right, yeah.
And there were, serial killers that took advantage of that.
100%. I mean,
And
that's even more recent than the 70s and 80s, actually.
Well, I was just going to say, and look how far we've come in our life. We're in the early 2000s, and they're still discriminating against these escorts and prostitutes and, not taking their life as serious as they should.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're in a high-risk situation or, that they're doing something that maybe isn't seen as acceptable in society or what have you. It doesn't matter. If they go missing, that should be taken seriously. If not more, I feel like, because they're in high-risk situations, meeting random people on a regular basis. I don't know. I think that's so fucked up to discriminate against people's lifestyle choice like that, right?
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there. Now, this is just a personal feeling, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I actually think prostitution and escorting should be legalized. I'm not saying I personally would go and do it. Not my thing. But I think they should actually make some goddamn standards,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I think genuinely that would protect the people who are choosing that career path.
I mean, the people who have their services would probably have to fill out a waiver or at least be documented, right?
Well, if you think about think about massage therapy, right? Every client that I have ever treated in my life has filled out a form with all their health information, their address, phone number, email, all that stuff, so that if they did something to me, or vice versa, all their information would be available.
Right.
Right? So I could contact the police, be like, hey, if I got assaulted in one of my sessions, I could call the police.
Yeah, this is who it was. This is all their personal information.
Yeah, and it's it just protects these men and women who are choosing to be prostitutes. Because honestly, I say this because not that I think people should go and prostitute necessarily, but I think if someone chooses to, they have the right, and that they should be fucking protected, and it shouldn't be like, used against them to not, like...
Look into their disappearance.
Yeah, like, it
Yeah.
just shouldn't. It's absolute, like, a crock of shit. And the fact that it's still happening to this day and we somehow haven't learned from the past
Mm-hmm.
is bullcrap.
It totally is. I agree with that 100%.
You know, like,
Yeah.
protect everyone no matter what career choice. Like, let's just do it. How can we change this in the world, Bev?
I mean, this happens with drug addicts and homeless people as well,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes, it does.
so,
How do we change that?
right.
That's a big, big question. I don't know the answer to, but I'm throwing it out there. How do we change this bullshit?
Yeah, because they ultimately get preyed on in a lot of instances.
Yeah, vulnerable population.
Totally.
It's not right.
It's not right. So shame on the Toronto police for dismissing Sean's concerns. Because
Exactly.
Sean did not share the same view as they did. Like, he knew Laura. He knew her patterns, her habits, and the fact that she was always in contact with someone. You know, she loved connecting with people that she cared about. So for her to suddenly go silent was not normal for her and something to be taken seriously. So Sean, bless his heart, he loves Laura. He begins doing what he can on his own. And so he started tracking Laura's phone activity and calling everyone in her circle to see if they had heard from her. And one by one, he came up empty-handed until he realized that the last person Laura had been in contact with was, in fact, Dylan Millard. So Sean went back to police and told them they needed to look into Dylan. He explained that he was the last known person to have contact with Laura and that he seemed, in Sean's words, a tad bit shady. But again, police did not appear interested in pursuing that lead, and nothing was done with the information. So this incident was about 10 months before Tim Bosma's murder.
And Sean is like spoon feeding the police. Be like, she's missing. This is who was last in contact with her.
Yeah, the least they could do is check it out. It's not like they'd be using too many police resources to just look into this guy, right?
Yeah, go knock on his door. Be like, yo, man, you know this person? I mean,
you were last seen with her. Question him at the very least, but like, come on, like, check it out.
Like, do something, right? God.
Now, obviously, like, we posed the question at the beginning, like, how infuriated would you be if someone you loved went missing? And not only did they go missing, but that their disappearance, like, could have prevented other people being murdered, and, like, due to police negligence. And obviously, we kind of have an example of what someone would feel with this case because Sean was fucking pissed. You know, like, someone he loved went missing. He went to the police. Nothing was done. And then he learns that Dylan and Mark were arrested for the murder of Tim Bosma. And so he files a formal complaint stating that the Toronto Police Service had failed to properly file a missing person report and had refused to collect statements from Laura's friends or meaningfully investigate her disappearance at all. And ultimately, his complaint became the catalyst for reopening and seriously examining Laura's case. Thank God. But, like, such a shame it came to that because who knows if the Toronto police had taken it seriously in the first place, who knows if Tim Bosma would have been murdered, you know,
Exactly.
or Wayne Millard. So when investigators finally begin digging into this case, what they uncovered was wild, largely circumstantial, but deeply troubling nonetheless. They saw exactly what Sean had seen from the beginning. Dylan was the last person to have contacted Laura on July 3rd. There was surveillance footage of the two together at Kipling subway station. Their cell phone data aligned, showing them traveling in the same direction and pinging off the same cell towers as they headed towards Dylan's home. That evening, the final two calls made from Laura's phone were at 7:03 p.m. One was to Dylan's phone and one was to her own voicemail. And after that, her phone was never used again for outgoing communication at all. And to top it off, while Laura was at Dylan's home, Mark Smitch's phone was also in the same location. And we know those two be up to crazy shenanigans, obviously.
Yep.
And then, shortly after midnight on July 4th, all three of their phones began to move together. Cell phone data showed Dylan's phone traveling westbound, eventually pinging off towers near his farm property outside Waterloo, as well as near his aviation company. Later, his phone returned to Toronto. Mark's phone also moved westbound, eventually pinging off towers near Oakville. And Laura's phone moved west as well, but then it stopped in the middle of Mississauga. After that, there was no more activity. And after speaking with people from Dylan's life, investigators began uncovering deeply troubling details. So, in May of 2012, Dylan had asked his airplane mechanic to build a homemade incinerator out of oil drums. And the mechanic constructed it, but it didn't function properly. And not long after, Dylan ordered an industrial incinerator to be delivered. Wow, so there you have it. That's how we know he got it.
He bought it.
He
Ordered it.
freaking ordered it. Damn.
Okay, isn't it a little scary that someone can just, overall in regards to an incinerator, Dylan is just a normal average Joe. He has no qualifications. He has no reason to be ordering an incinerator, but yet he can, you know? And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, in a lot of other industries, only people with certain certificates or degrees, education, you know, stuff like that can order certain things online even. You know, like doctors can order certain drugs, dentists can order certain drugs, pharmacists, you know? They all have access because they have these registration numbers that it can all be tracked. But an incinerator, why, like, Bev, there's only real two reasons that I'm aware of that anyone would need an incinerator. You want to know what they are? To burn bodies and to burn animal bodies.
Right, so you think that there should be more regulations as to who can buy these, which I hear you on that one, because you're right. It's not like a run-of-the-mill piece of equipment that you would need for, you know, day-to-day shit.
Yeah.
So maybe he, like, used his family's company as, like, a backdrop to be able to purchase this. Who knows? But either way, I hear you on that. It is frustrating because, yeah, you don't need it for day-to-day shit.
Yeah.
The average person, like, for sure.
No.
So, obviously, I think that this little tidbit of information speaks to, in large part, to Dylan's motive to meeting up with Laura in the first place, and it shows a premeditated, pre-calculated effort to potentially harm Laura, just like his text said.
For sure it does.
That's pretty fucking damning right there.
Yeah.
So, on July 2nd, which was just one day before Laura was last seen, Dylan also purchased a .32 caliber handgun from a known arms dealer. And then on July 4th, the day after Laura went missing, the iPad that Sean had given her was connected to Dylan's computer. The device was renamed to Mark's iPad and later given to Mark Smidge. Now, that same day, a photo was taken on Dylan's phone, and it showed a bright blue rolled-up tarp with his dog sitting beside it. And investigators would later allege that Laura was inside that tarp. Now, here is, like, it just shows, like, Dylan's absolute, like, disregard for Laura's life. I think him renaming the iPad, just, like, it's just so gross. That is so fucking disgusting to do. Like, It's like, oh, you're gone. Haha. Now, I'm just going to rename this. Like, I don't know. That's just so fucked up. Like, it just, to me, that just is so emotionless. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, it just seems so fucked up. And then on July 5th, Dylan receives the delivery of the industrial incinerator, and it was called the Eliminator.
Oh, God. Whoever named that probably had no idea that this would be used in this circumstance, but goddamn, that's terrible.
Right? And once he received the incinerator, I'm not even going to call it what it was because I can't. It needed to be assembled and tested. And then on July 23rd, Dylan sends a text message to Mark that read, "Barbecue has run its warm-up. It's ready for meat."
Ugh. I hate that.
Like, it's a joke to him. Like, thinking of taking someone's life and planning it, like, it's just a big old joke. Like, Laura's life was a joke, which it's not, by the way. But that's how he acts. Like, just repurposing her belongings to his friend. Oh, look at what you should have. And then, like, that message, like, I don't know. It's just like, how casual can you be about planning to murder somebody?
Yeah.
And then at 10:38, p.m. of that same evening, records show a Google search made from Dellen's phone asking, "What temperature is cremation done at?" Investigators also recovered a photo of Mark at the Millard Air hangar holding an incinerator rake from late July 2012, as well as a video that showed what they believed to be the incineration of Laura. In the video, it shows sparks flying from inside the incinerator. The following day, Mark recorded a rap song on Laura's iPad that referenced her death, with lyrics about burning a body and throwing a phone into a lake. What made it even more disturbing was that Mark, who styled himself as a wannabe gangster, had reportedly told people that he had killed someone. And despite never recovering Laura's remains, detectives and the Crown believed they had gathered enough evidence to proceed with charging Dellen and Mark with Laura's murder. And so they were both charged with first-degree murder in the death of Laura Babcock. So if you believe the rap, maybe that stop to Mississauga where her phone stopped pinging was near a lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in late 2017, these two men were back in court, and this time it was for Laura's murder. And in a surprising, yet at the same time not so surprising move, Dellen chooses to represent himself. Which, come on, every single egotistical fucker who murders people, who thinks way too much of themselves, chooses to fucking represent themselves like a dildo. I can't even handle it. It's ridiculous, Becky.
Oh, I know it is. You know what, though? I say, go ahead. Defend yourselves.
Or try to.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Make
yourself look like a damn fool.
Yeah. Go ahead, get convicted, because you're an idiot. I don't mind. It was going to happen whether you had a lawyer or not, you dummy.
Yep.
But also, the ego part, that's what kills me. But,
Yeah.
You think that you're smarter than everyone?
You think you can, do what lawyers go to school for? They go to so much school to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
And you think you can just,
Be a lawyer?
pull it out of your ass? Come on now.
Okay, Dellen. Okay.
So the trial of Laura lasted 7 weeks, and watching Dellen act, and we say act, as his own lawyer gave the court a clear look at what many described as his arrogance. He denied everything, even disputing that Laura was dead at all. And while the case was largely circumstantial, the volume of digital and forensic evidence helped construct a pretty compelling timeline. As we know, there were phone records, text messages, videos, photographs, the .32 caliber handgun purchase right before her disappearance, and the acquisition and use of the incinerator all played critical roles in developing this timeline. Investigators also presented a red duffel bag found in Mark's room that contained Laura's personal belongings. The bag was labeled with her name in her own handwriting.
I feel like Dellen was literally just banking on the fact that they never found her remains.
Oh, 100%. That is exactly right.
Rookie mistake, Dellen. Circumstantial evidence is still evidence.
It is.
And you can still be convicted with only circumstantial evidence.
Especially when it's so dang compelling. Come
I
on.
know.
I'm always 50-50 about circumstantial evidence, but with this one, I'm kind of yeah, they had everything but the body.
Yeah.
And one of the most significant pieces of evidence that was introduced by the prosecution was a collection of 65 letters Dellen had written to Christina Nudga. In those letters, he appeared to coach her on what to say regarding Laura's disappearance. In one letter, he wrote, "To get out of this bind, I need help. We need to get our stories straight. I need to know what you're willing to do. Whatever you may believe, it needs to be put aside. This is what happened. Laura had disappeared after overdosing on drugs with Mark Smitch. Later, when she was reported missing, you asked me if I knew anything. I told you that Mark had told me she OD'd, probably from mixing her prescriptions with Mark's coke. Reread this a couple of times, then destroy it immediately."
Clearly she didn't destroy it.
Yeah. Maybe she has a conscience.
Maybe.
She was mad at Laura, but she was also shit, that's fucked.
Yeah, she had a pretty foul attitude towards her, but she's not a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on December 16th of 2017, Dellen Millard and Mark Smitch were convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Laura Babcock. Both of them received life sentences with no possibility of parole for 25 years. And after the conviction of Mark and Dylan, police then turned their attention back to the death of Wayne Millard. What had initially been ruled a suicide was now being re-examined as a potential homicide. Like, if anything, I feel like Dylan has killed people to eliminate, like, issues in his life. Like, Laura became an issue. He's like, off with you. Wayne, as we know, there was tensions between him and Dylan. He was wanting to cut him off. That's an issue for Dylan. So he, might just kill him there. And then when it comes to Tim, he's like, I need your truck. I'm not paying for it. You're an issue. Get rid of him. Like, what an entitled piece of shit.
What an entitled piece of shit.
So let's delve into the murder of Wayne. I'm going to be brazen and say it right now. So prosecutors alleged that Dylan wanted to kill his father to protect his inheritance. The tension between Wayne and Dylan had already been escalating, as we know, particularly over money and Dylan's spending habits. Now, Dylan claimed that he was at Mark Smitch's house on the night of his father's death. However, phone records showed that in the early hours of the morning, he had traveled back to his father's home. A gun that Dylan had purchased illegally from a weapons dealer was found next to Wayne's body. The firearm contained Dylan's DNA, not Wayne's. Evidence presented in court showed that Wayne Millard had been shot in the eye while he slept. And in September 2018, Dylan Millard was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Wayne Millard. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Damn. Killed his own dad.
Yeah, like, he was a problem for him. Gone. That's so fucked up. And honestly, this guy, like, fucking idiot. Just, like, takes his phone everywhere with him. Like, a clear, tracing of where he went. Like, idiot.
Literally logged each, like,
Murder.
direction he went in.
Yeah. Oh. Where was this
went
murder?
back to the home where the murder happened?
Oh.
I was there.
Yeah.
My phone shows it.
It was my gun.
Met Laura at the train station.
My phone shows it.
Went back to my house with her. Phone shows it.
Yeah.
Like,
Stupid.
maybe he truly just doesn't understand, like, how much our phones are like tattletales.
Like me. Yeah.
Just like you, Beba.
But yeah, like, seriously, just stupid. Like, thank God for it, though, because he deserves to rot in prison, man.
Yeah, he killed 3 people.
Yeah. So initially, Dylan's sentences for the 3 murders were ordered to be served consecutively, meaning he would not have been eligible for parole for 75 years. However, the Supreme Court later ruled that such stacked periods of parole ineligibility were unconstitutional. So as a result, Dylan Millard will be eligible to apply for parole after serving 25 years.
I'd be curious to talk to someone in the Supreme Court and just be like, how is that unconstitutional? If anything, it's unconstitutional that you would potentially let someone apply for parole after 25 years after killing 3 people, like, planned killings.
Yeah, premeditated. I don't know about his dad, per se, if that was, like, planned and premeditated, but 2 of them for sure were.
Oh, Bevy? He had to get a gun.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Of course
hey?
it was premeditated.
You're right. You're right, Becky.
I am right. He's not getting away with anything on my watch. That's for fucking sure. Anyways, I would just be curious to know what is that thought process? Because if the crime, like, fits, is 75 years unconstitutional? I don't know. Like, when people get sentenced to death, sometimes they sit in jail for like 25 years and then their life is over. 75 years doesn't sound that bad.
I mean, there's a lot of people who get life in prison with no chance of parole. So is that unconstitutional?
Yeah. Canada, I think we need to reevaluate this. I feel like life in prison maybe should just be life in prison.
Becky has some big questions today, y'all. She's got some big questions. Society needs to be rewritten.
You know what? It does. It does. I don't know how, but maybe I'm going to look into that. See how much effort it would take.
Right?
To change these.
Becky's like, unconstitutional, my ass.
I'm going to change the law. That's for sure. I'm going to do it one day.
Change the world, baby. Change the world.
Yeah.
So, in the aftermath of these convictions, the Toronto Police Service faced significant scrutiny for how both Laura Babcock's disappearance and Wayne Millard's death were initially handled. Like, there was
Mm-hmm.
fucking DNA on that gun that wasn't his, you mofos. And, like, Laura was an important person to many people, and she shouldn't have been ignored.
And she was reported missing by someone who knew her really well.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Who knew that she wouldn't just go missing on her own accord. And you know what, Bev? For that matter, if someone is struggling mentally and they go missing, don't you think the police should go looking for them?
Yeah, totally. Like, even a welfare check, right? Like, God.
Yeah. Like, I just want to be like, get fucked. Your thought process is absolutely wrong.
Yeah. It's like if they had just done their part, they would have realized rather quickly, in fact, that Dylan and Mark were killers. And it could have prevented 2 other deaths. So.
And you know what, Bevy? When Sean initially reported her missing, if they had maybe gone, checked on Dylan, maybe they could have found Laura's body before it got incinerated. Because he didn't do it for like almost 2 weeks till the end of July.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
You know, and then they would have had an even stronger case against him. Oh, and then Wayne and Tim might have not been dead.
Yeah, honestly, it is pretty negligent. And honestly, there were some criticisms about Wayne's investigation, solely because critics argued that the investigation lacked depth. You know, there was the presence of a firearm purchased illegally there, and there were broader family tensions that just weren't fully explored. So I can see why people are criticizing the Toronto police on this one.
For sure. I know we are being like very harsh on them, but I hope that they took this and learned from it to just be better police investigators.
Totally. Absolutely.
Like, I hope that it's sad that this has to be used as a learning experience, but I hope at the very least
it is.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, because 2 people did lose their lives, and I'm not saying it's like the police's fault that there was a killer that chose to do these nasty fucking things, or 2 killers, that chose to do that, but it just shows you the value of good police work in preventing crimes, right?
For sure.
Now, here's an interesting tidbit of information. So on January 12th of 2018, acquaintance of Dylan's named Matthew Ward Jackson was sentenced to 11 years in prison after pleading guilty to 9 charges related to gun possession and trafficking. And among those charges was the sale of a .32 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver to Dylan, which was the firearm used to kill his father, and the sale of a Walther PPK that was used in the murder of Tim Bosma. So at the time of this particular sentencing, Matthew Ward Jackson was already incarcerated on a separate conviction. So as a result, credit was applied for time served, and his additional sentence was reduced to 3 years, 7 months, and 2 weeks. So, I mean, he's not the one who pulled the trigger, but there are, like, don't sell illegal guns. Like, damn. What the
People
fuck?
die. Yeah. You know, right there, that's the problem with the world, Bev.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make here, I'll try and keep it short and sweet, is that when people, the actions that they choose or inactions have like a huge effect on the whole world.
Oh, totally.
The police not doing their job, possibly, most likely, allowed for 2 other people to be murdered, even if they felt justified in their inaction. This Matthew guy, he's been an illegal criminal, choosing to sell illegal guns, and 3 people die. And sure, neither, like the police, this gun trafficker didn't pull the trigger, like you said, but their choices brought everyone to this moment.
Totally.
Even though it definitely is Dylan and Mark's fault, they are officially the bad people, but it all accumulated to these moments.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's just so much crime out there, Bev. It'll never stop.
No, you're totally right. It will never stop. It will never stop.
It'll never stop.
So it's such a shame, but...
Yeah. So live your life knowing that your actions can have big impacts throughout your community, your city, the world.
Yeah.
Just whoever's listening, live your life with that thought and just be good people.
Totally.
Be good people.
I like that message, Becky. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
So, I know we've talked extensively about what a piece of shit Dylan is, because he is. But
Yeah.
I have some more for you guys. It doesn't
Of
stop
course.
there, because, he's a piece of shit, and he continues to be one. Hello.
Hello.
So, in 2021, pretty recent, Dylan was involved in a violent altercation at Millhaven Institution. During the incident, he restrained another inmate while a third inmate stabbed the man. Now, the victim survived the attack, but as a result, Dylan was charged with assault, causing bodily harm, and possession of a weapon. Dylan maintained his innocence and pleaded not guilty. The weapons charge was ultimately dropped due to lack of evidence. However, in March 2023, he was convicted on the charge of assault causing bodily harm. So, Dylan and Mark have both appealed their convictions for the murders of Tim Bosma and Laura Babcock. And as of June 15th, 2023, those appeals were rejected.
Still guilty.
Dylan also filed a separate appeal for the murder of his father, and that appeal was also rejected in March 2023, with the higher court affirming that the conviction was sound. Because it was. Killer. Just kidding. But
Killer, you killed your dad.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Honestly, just fucked up, and 3 people lost their lives as a result of many people's actions, like you said, but specifically Dylan and Mark's. And so it's just sad to think about.
It's very sad to think about, and to think about all the families and friends that lost a loved one at the hands of 2 men who, although sure there's motive, like his dad was maybe gonna take his money away. Laura was interfering with his relationships.
And
but at the end of the day, those are truck? Like what? Tim had a truck. He was just trying to make some money off his poor truck. And at the end of the day, we talk about a lot of cases where there are some big major motives, and people stand to gain a lot with the crimes they commit, even though they're stupid, but they gain a lot. But in this case, they were trivial things.
Yeah. They're just, like I said, they're just he sees them as a problem and he's off with them. And I just think that's why he's a despicable human. But honestly, kudos to Sean. Let's just say that right here and right now. Kudos to Sean Lerner. You're a real one, and thank you for your efforts, because,
without him, Laura's case may have never been solved, and she could have been a missing person. Not even a documented missing person, just a missing person amongst her community. Yep. That no one ever knew where she went, what happened to her,
or Wayne Miller,
like that.
They would have his death would have always been ruled as suicide. So Sean, you're a real one, and yeah.
Way to have the balls to just fucking stand up and do what's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Becky, thanks for joining me on this journey. And I love you hugely. And
I love you hugely as well.
Thank you. And as always, y'all, we love you hugely. Until next week. And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias. You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.